Hi, welcome to the Big Bear Homestead. And today, in our Predator Control on the Homestead series, we're going to talk about weasel boxes. Okay, so today we're going to go over weasel boxes. And one of the reasons why I want to talk about the weasel box today is recently in one of our live streams, one of our viewers was expressing how they have an abundance of weasels and they're having issues with weasels. And so I told them about using number ones and the 110 conibear. But today I want to go into the weasel box itself to help them out and anybody else that might be having issues with weasels. We're going to focus our attention on two types of boxes, one for the number one foothold and the other one for the 110 conibear. Okay, so let's talk about the weasel box. Okay, we have two types. We have one for the number one foothold and then another one for a 110 conibear. Now what makes a weasel box so important when you're trapping a weasel is the fact that a weasel likes to have small confined spaces to go into to get his grub on. And so the weasel box offers that to him, which makes it more enticing and more of a reason why he would want to go in there. And they're very easy to make, very simple. They're basically, you're just making a box, whether you're doing the one for the 110 or this one for the number one. And like again, you can make these out of pallet wood. You don't have to really go and spend a whole bunch of money. You can find scrap wood around your homestead and make these boxes and make them effective. So with that being said, let's dive in to the box for the number one foothold. Okay, so let's dive into the box with the number one. Now, what makes this box different than the 110 conibear is just its basic overall design and size. This one is more of a rectangular box that you can flip open this way. You put your bait here in the back. Okay, and we've gone over this box in, I think when we were talking about weasels, and we've done a predator control on the homestead episode on weasels where we just talk about the biology of the weasel. So if you guys have to battle weasels, it's definitely good to know your enemy, so go back and check out that video, and that video will be linked in our end screen annotations at the end of this one. And basically, with this one, the hardest part about using the number one foothold weasel box is going to be to anchor off your number one. Now, a weasel is not very strong, so you can take some trapping wire around this, put it on the box. You can wire it to a tree or fence post or something that's close by. You'll come back, and he'll be there for you in the morning. He'll be quite upset, but he'll be there in the morning. Now, this is not my go-to if I had to deal with weasels. I prefer to go ahead and use the conibear because it goes ahead and kills them. You ain't got to worry about pull-outs or anything like that. But if somebody gave you a number one, you're going to use a number one, this is how you do it. Okay, we like to have a flip-top lid because it's easier for us to come back here, throw the bait in here, close the lid, and it's easier for us to also check the trap if he's not out here. Sometimes they'll crawl in the box and hide. The undercarriage of the box is nothing more than the lid. Now, we put this roof on here for the lid so that way he doesn't, when it's sitting down, he doesn't just try to go over the trap to get there. He'll have to step on the trap because you're going to put the trap right here in the front portion of it. And then when you have your trap set, you'll have it set to where, as you can see, we put a notch right here so that way the chain can slide out that way. So you set your trap in here to where the trap sits in here. Now you do have to make it wide enough for your trap to sit in there. I'm the type of person that I like to kind of angle my trap when I'm setting it in on my footholds. I like to give them a little bit of a 45 degree twist, and it'll be done. You bed that trap good in the ground. Now, you have another board right here, this board right here. Okay, this is what we call a step board. And we'll also put a stick or something in there. And basically what that whole board is for is to make him place his foot on that trap. Because when the trap is set in there, okay, let me see if I can get this, and we'll try to get in here and get a tight of this later. We'll get a B-roll of it. Okay, you got the trap set in there. He comes in, he won't hop just straight back here. One, because the lid is there, but two, this step board is what, and I don't know, there might be a better name for it, but that's what I call it. This step board forces him to step on my trap versus right here, because he knows he's trying to be as stealth as possible. So when he steps, he doesn't want to take a chance of breaking that stick. Now, I won't put a big honking stick in there because the weasel knows he don't weigh but 105 ounces, maybe $1.05 in ounces. But so we'll put a tiny one because he's a small guy, so he has predators after him too. So he doesn't want to make that stick snap. So he'll step back here where my pan is and to be able to make a longer stride over to be able to get to the bait. I think I explained that well. I don't know. I'm not feeling like I did. But basically, you want him to step on the pan to get caught, and you want to force him to step on that pan. So by putting this stick there in front of the trap, it forces him to take a shallow stride at first to step on the pan, so that way he'll step over the stick to be able to get to the bait. Okay? And then you just anchor it off, bait it, leave it be, come back, and you'll have a weasel. Now again, he may be rolled up back here in his back corner to where you'll have to ooga booga him or pop him with a 22, but you'll have him. If he raises too much cane, this might come loose and he knocks it off to the side somewhere. That's why it's important to anchor this. Now, you can drive an earth anchor on this if you want to. I think that's just a little bit too much trouble, because if you literally tie this to a rock, a cinder block, a brick, he's not going to be able to go far. Okay? So that covers the Weasel Box with the number one. Let's dive in to my favorite, the Weasel Box with the 110 Conibear. Okay, the Weasel Box with the 110 Conibear is a great tool to have because it's very you can use it in a lot of different sets. I was trying to think of the big word, but I'm struggling with it, so I'm not even going to try and say it. Unlike this box, where you're basically just setting this box on the ground. Well, with this box, you can set it on the ground. You can set it on your chicken coop, and you can make what they call a pole set, where you lean a down branch up against a tree or a pole, and you lean it up against something and you angle it, and then you fasten this box for it to sit like that. A lot of guys catch a lot of martins and fishers this way because they're part of the weasel family, but you can also catch the smaller weasels like this also, because they're going to run up that pole and they're going to see what's in this box. And this box is very simple to make. You just make a box. We cut slats into it for the 110 Conibear. Now, we showed this with two slats. One, because this 110 that we picked up at an auction had this big honking bolt in it, and I haven't gotten around to it. It's functional, it works, and I'm one of those believers that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But some of your 160s, 120s, and even some 110s are coming with dual springs now, so that way you needed to be able to slide both of those in there. We have a hook in the back that you can hang your bait on, And then you've got all of this surface area up here that you can put lures and attractants and stuff on. If you're wiring it to a pole, you just wire it over across the top. Or you could get fancy if you wanted to and drilled holes in the bottom and ran your wire through there and then wrapped it around the tree so that way it's really secure, or your pole, or however you're choosing to set this. And then all you do is you set your 110. Okay? And then you just slide it in your box. Like such. Okay? And you slide it in there like that. Now, the reason why I had a lot of trouble is my son went ahead and anchored this to the box, and he anchored it all the way back here, and we didn't have a lot of room to play with in the chain, which made it a little bit more difficult. And that's okay. All we got to do is move it from the back to the side. It's good to go. And you place it in there. Now, you want your slats right here. I mean, my son did a really good job making this. These slats are pretty, they're not very wide. So there's not a lot of room for play with the spring. And it's set for the spring to be able to expand out this way, so there's no hindering the trap going off. And then if we're setting it on the ground, or even if we're setting it up in a tree, you can run branches down through here to make it to where this trap doesn't weeble wobble. Now, okay, there are things that you can purchase through trapping companies that you can fasten on the bottom of your box. There's stabilizers for the 110 that you can put in there, and it'll help stabilize the 110, so there's none of this. That choice is yours. There's lots of ways to go around fixing that problem without having to purchase that. You just got to be a little bit creative. You put your bait in the back, you put your stinky stuff up on top to get his attention. He comes in, whammo, and this is a lethal trap. It'll kill him. Problem solved. And like I said, you can make both of these out of scrap wood that you just have laying around your homestead. You pick up a pallet. You could probably, out of a pallet, make half a dozen to a dozen of these, depending on your carpentry level and how decent of a pallet you picked up. And that's it. It's very simple, very easy, and very, very effective when it comes to battling the weasel. So I hope you guys found this video informative and helpful. Thanks for coming by the Big Bear Homestead, and like always, have a nice day.